We have more eyeballs on the game, and Caitlyn Clark brings that. Why would we feel some kind of way because she has
WNBA legend Lisa Leslie just spoke out with surprising clarity on the Caitlyn Clark television controversy.
Did an interview with USA Today, and I wanted to jump on really quickly and share that in case you missed it, and also share my perspective, because it's so noteworthy how Lisa Leslie responds to the news that the Indiana Fever.
Caitlyn Clark making waves without winning a championship, despite getting very close. If UConn doesn't take it this year, it feels like, Paige is going to be in that same boat. So I'm curious if you think winning an NCAA championship is needed for that eventual GOAT conversation, greatest of all time status.
Marketing, and we cannot deny what Caitlyn Clark has done for the women's game. I'm not going to act like it's something that we don't see. She's had a huge effect called the Caitlyn Clark effect. Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlyn Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? I think we have to understand that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just opens it up for everyone else. And I think Caitlyn has said that even herself in certain interviews. And I love that. I love that she's not the player who's like, it's all about her. It's not. She's giving love and homage to those of us that have come before her. She shares the wealth with her teammates, and she doesn't have to do that. So I just don't, again, I don't know what the big deal is about the fact that Caitlyn is getting a lot of love. She deserves that, and she's helped change this game just as a lot of other players have. But it is what it is. And I think that we are all benefiting from National Player of the Year. I won all of the individual awards, but sometimes, it's very hard to win a national championship, regardless of how much people talk about it, like, oh, you have to have it. It is one of the hardest things to do in a tournament where you have so many games and you're trying to get there. So yeah, shout out to all of the players who were able to win national championships, but it doesn't make a player who didn't win a national championship any less of an amazing individual player and the possibility to be in the talks of being.
What if the most controversial figure in women's basketball is actually the one doing the most for the game? Caitlyn Clark has been at the center of the spotlight for her incredible skills and the attention she's brought to the sport. But with the Indiana Fever getting an unprecedented 41 out of 44 of their regular season games on national TV, it sparked a debate. Is Caitlyn Clark's rise helping or hurting the WNBA? WNBA legend Lisa Leslie gave an unexpected response that flipped the script completely. In an interview with USA Today, Leslie offered a perspective that everyone is talking about. Let's dive into what she said and how it changes the entire conversation. Caitlyn Clark's meteoric rise in women's basketball has been nothing short of extraordinary. From dominating college basketball to becoming a household name, she has completely changed the way people view the game. Clark's unmatched skills on the court have made her a fan favorite, and her highlights are shared by millions of people on social media. It's rare that a player in women's sports gets this level of attention, but Caitlyn has not only captured the public's eye, she has also helped bring women's basketball into the mainstream in a way few could have predicted. Fans flock to watch her play, and the energy in arenas when she's on the court is electric. She's a once-in-a-generation talent, and her presence brings a buzz that no other player can generate in quite the same way. In fact, the Indiana Fever have been given an unbelievable 41 out of their 44 regular season games on national television this season, a level of exposure that no other team in the WNBA has ever experienced. For any team in the league, that is an astounding amount of visibility. More games on TV means more fans, more conversations around the league, and more opportunities for the players to be seen. But with great attention comes great debate. While many people celebrate the increased exposure and the spotlight on women's basketball, there are others who feel uneasy about it. Some fans and players argue that too much focus is being placed on Caitlyn Clark and that it's unfair. They question whether her spotlight is overshadowing other equally talented players in the league. There are even those who claim that the attention Clark receives could create a dangerous imbalance, where other athletes are left out of the conversation despite their own skill and contribution to the game. This raises an important question. Does all this attention to Clark truly hurt the league, or is it the boost the WNBA needs to reach new heights? Is it fair that one player gets so much love, or is this just the start of a necessary shift for women's basketball, one that brings it to the forefront of sports culture, finally giving it the attention and respect it deserves? When USA Today recently posed this question to WNBA legend Lisa Leslie, the response was not what most people expected. Instead of falling into the trap of criticism, Leslie delivered a perspective that shocked many and shifted the entire conversation. Rather than expressing jealousy or resentment toward the attention Clark is receiving, Leslie took a much more inclusive stance. She famously said, "When one player eats, we all eat." Leslie's words captured a fundamental truth about women's sports. The rise of one player is a victory for everyone involved. In her eyes, Caitlyn Clark's exposure is not just a win for Clark herself, it's a win for the entire league. More eyes on Clark mean more fans watching women's basketball in general, which translates to more revenue, more sponsorships, and better opportunities for every player, not just the star players. Lisa Leslie, a trailblazer who helped build the WNBA from the ground up, knows firsthand how powerful visibility can be in growing a sport. She fought for every inch of exposure in the league's early days, when getting media attention was a constant struggle. Leslie understands that the attention Clark is getting is not an isolated event. It's a sign of progress for the entire league. The more recognition Clark gets, the more visibility the entire WNBA enjoys. When Clark gets TV time, so do the other players on the court, the teams, and the sport itself. Leslie's philosophy is clear. Success for one player doesn't have to come at the expense of others. In fact, when one player rises, it creates a domino effect that benefits everyone. Clark's rise isn't just about her. It's about growing the game and lifting the entire league to new heights. To truly understand why Lisa Leslie's perspective is so valuable, we need to take a step back in time and consider the history of the WNBA. In the league's early years, players like Lisa Leslie were fighting for survival. The WNBA was in its infancy, and there was very little media coverage for the sport. Most games were played in small, almost empty arenas, and getting any exposure at all was a rare and hard-earned victory. The struggle for recognition was real, and the players had to work hard, not just on the court but in demanding basic media coverage and respect for their talent. Back when Leslie was dominating the league, finding a WNBA game on TV was nearly impossible. The media landscape was drastically different, and there were far fewer opportunities for women's basketball to reach a wide audience. Games were often relegated to late-night time slots or hidden on obscure cable channels. The players had to fight for every bit of visibility, competing against other major sports and a culture that didn't prioritize women's athletics. Leslie was there when the league was just trying to prove that it could survive. But as time passed and the players, Leslie included, continued to give their all, the WNBA began to grow. Over the years, the league's visibility expanded, and now we are seeing the fruits of that labor. Today, the WNBA has become more accessible than ever before, with games broadcast across multiple platforms and a growing fan base. Players like Caitlyn Clark are benefiting from the groundwork laid by legends like Leslie, and it's through this collective effort that women's basketball is finally getting the recognition it deserves. So when Lisa Leslie talks about how much Caitlyn Clark's rise benefits the league, she isn't just speaking from a place of admiration for Clark's talent. She's speaking from experience. She knows what it took to get to this point, and she understands how rare and special this moment is in the history of the WNBA. Clark's impact isn't just about her individual success. It's a symbol of how far the league has come and a reminder of how much further it can go. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the 41 televised games for the Indiana Fever. This unprecedented level of exposure for a single team has sparked some controversy, with many feeling that it's unfair to other teams in the WNBA who are not getting the same amount of TV time. The concern is that the focus on one team might overshadow the rest of the league, leaving other talented players and teams with fewer opportunities for visibility. After all, there's only so much airtime to go around, and not every team can be showcased in the same way. But here's the thing, Leslie doesn't see this as a problem. In fact, she sees it as a sign of growth for the entire league. Leslie's view is simple but powerful. Rather than focusing on the number of games a single team gets, we should celebrate the fact that the WNBA is getting so much exposure across the board. The fact that a team like the Indiana Fever is getting national television coverage signals the progress the league has made in terms of recognition. This was something players like Leslie could only dream of in the early years of the WNBA, when games were few and far between on TV and media coverage was sparse. For Leslie, the issue isn't about a few more games for one team, it's about the overall increase in visibility for the league. Leslie's perspective on this situation encourages us to zoom out and look at the broader picture. More games on national TV, no matter which team is playing, helps raise the profile of women's basketball. Even the teams that aren't getting national airtime benefit from the fact that the league itself is gaining attention. When fans tune in to watch one game, it increases the chances they'll follow the league as a whole. As the WNBA grows, so do the opportunities for all players. Whether they're featured on national television or not, every player stands to gain from the increased exposure of the league. So, instead of complaining about a few extra games for one team, Leslie advocates for celebrating this moment of growth in the league. This is the time to embrace the fact that women's basketball is finally being given the stage it deserves. One of the most remarkable things about Caitlyn Clark isn't just her undeniable skill on the basketball court, but her attitude and approach to the game. While many athletes in her position might soak up the spotlight and bask in the attention, Clark has consistently emphasized that she's just one part of a much bigger picture. She frequently deflects attention from herself and redirects it toward her teammates and the game as a whole. This selflessness is rare among athletes who are thrust into the kind of spotlight Clark is experiencing. In a world where athletes often become brands and put their personal success first, Caitlyn Clark remains grounded, focused on the collective success of her team and the broader growth of the sport. Leslie herself praised Clark for her humility, saying, "I love that she's not the player who's like, it's all about her." This is a crucial point. Clark doesn't see herself as the center of the universe. She sees the spotlight as an opportunity to elevate the entire women's basketball community. She's the first to give credit to those who came before her, acknowledging that her success wouldn't have been possible without the generations of players who paved the way for her. Whether it's shouting out to other women in the league or praising her teammates, Clark has shown that her rise isn't about hoarding attention. It's about sharing the wealth. In interviews, Clark has repeatedly emphasized her commitment to her teammates and the overall growth of the sport. She believes in the power of teamwork and recognizes that success isn't just about individual accolades, but about creating a lasting impact on the game as a whole. By doing so, Clark has fostered a sense of unity and camaraderie among her peers, rather than contributing to any sense of rivalry or competition. She understands that when the team wins, the whole league wins. This attitude of sharing the spotlight is what sets Caitlyn Clark apart from many other athletes in the public eye. She doesn't see her success as coming at the expense of others. Instead, she views it as a win for everyone involved. As a result, her rise is not only changing the game, but it's also creating a culture of inclusivity and mutual respect within the league. Lisa Leslie's comments provide an important call for perspective in today's conversation about women's basketball. "We have to step back and see the big picture," she said. And she's absolutely right. If we zoom out and look at the broader landscape of women's sports, we can see that Caitlyn Clark's rise and the increased exposure for the league are part of a much larger movement. It's not just about one player or one season. It's about the long-term impact Clark's attention will have on the league and on the sport as a whole. Leslie's perspective is especially valuable because she has lived through the struggles of building the league from the ground up. She knows what it was like when getting a WNBA game on TV was a monumental challenge. In those early years, women's basketball players fought for recognition, working tirelessly to prove that the game was worth watching. They endured small arenas, limited media coverage, and minimal financial support, all in the hopes that one day, the league would thrive. Now, the WNBA is in a completely different place, with more visibility, better media deals, and a growing fan base. But it's easy to forget how far the league has come, especially when we get caught up in small details like which team is getting more TV games. Today's visibility, especially with Caitlyn Clark at the forefront, represents incredible progress, not just for Clark, but for the entire WNBA and all the women who've played the game. For Leslie and other pioneers of the league, seeing the game flourish in this way is a dream come true. The recognition and respect that women's basketball is finally receiving is a result of decades of hard work, and Caitlyn Clark's rise is just one of many moments that continue to move the sport forward. Leslie's call to see the bigger picture isn't just a call for patience, it's a reminder of the history and struggle that got us here. When we consider how far women's sports have come, it's clear that every moment of attention, every piece of recognition, is a step forward for everyone involved. So, rather than getting caught up in the details of TV schedules or who's getting more airtime, we should celebrate the fact that the WNBA and women's basketball as a whole are finally being given the attention they deserve. The real story here is one of growth, persistence, and collective progress. Caitlyn Clark's rise is just one chapter in this ongoing journey. But when we look at the bigger picture, it's clear that we are witnessing the evolution of a sport that has only just begun to reach its full potential. So, when we look at Caitlyn Clark's rise and all the media coverage she's receiving, we need to remember one thing. It's not just about her. It's about the entire league benefiting from the increased exposure and the attention that Clark is bringing to the game. Lisa Leslie's perspective reminds us that when one player gets a chance to shine, it opens up opportunities for everyone. The truth is, Clark's rise is just one piece of the puzzle that's transforming the WNBA. And it's a transformation that will benefit the entire league for years to come. If you've been following the debate, what do you think? Is Caitlyn Clark's attention a blessing or a curse for the game? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button if you agree with Leslie's perspective. For more unfiltered takes from the legends who shaped women's basketball, be sure to subscribe. The real story is just beginning.